The Western Line. Zones. Zone 12, the Merrivale region. Overview, tours and features. Welcome to the zone videos for the Western Line of Dartmoor. The 12th zone are the tours surrounding Merrivale Quarry to the west of the Western Line. It consists of these tours: rocks, crags and hills, Great Combe Tor, Sharp Tor 3, Little Cox Tor, Lower Cox Tor, Cox Tor, Barnhill Rocks, the Prouty Town Rocks, Feather Tor, Little Staple Tor, Middle Staple Tor, Great Staple Tor, Little Roost Tor, Roost Tor, Little Miss Tor, Great Miss Tor. Best approach and route. This zone sits between the towns of Tavistock and Princetown, north of the B3357 road. To hike this zone, leave Tavistock east along the Mount Tavy Road, B3357, or exit Princetown to the north and join the B3357 road heading west. Tours in this zone are mostly north or sometimes south of this road. From here you can begin to navigate. Feature 108, Great Combe Tor, at around 270 metres. Beginning heading east up the B3357 from Tavistock, before the cattle grid at Pork Hill, turn left at the turning for Higher Godsworthy Farm over a smaller cattle grid and follow the small road. The road will go on for a time, bending to the right around Cox Tor, seen high to your right. On your left, a working stone wall for a farm eventually comes close to meet your road. When it begins to run parallel at a gate, pull over where available. This gate has a permissive public footpath. Begin your walk through this gate, heading through it, then northwest, following a wall to your right. Sharp Tor 3 may possibly be visible on the hill to your left as you descend gently downhill. Head through a gap in the wall, heading the same direction. Turn left to face west-northwest, halfway through the field, and pass a large old oak tree. Continue through a short wall gap along the same bearing until you reach a walled field corner. Go through this gate and head north in the narrow channel, walled on either side for a short stretch, and where you come out is immediately the location of Great Combe Tor. The tor is a cluster of distinctive rocks, perched on the edge of a steep hill over the Collie Brook river valley. Feature 109, Sharp Tor 3 at 340 metres. If you got to Great Combe Tor, simply reverse your steps through the narrow walled alley and through the gate, except instead of heading back to the oak tree, head directly uphill to the south. You will see 3 rounded looking rocks cresting the hill as a landmark goal. Alternatively, follow the start of the guide to the previous tour to get parked, go through the gate, and instead of following the wall downhill, cross the broad field west-northwest until you start discovering some low rocks cresting a hill, with views out towards Smearden Down in the distance. As I mentioned, Sharp Tor 3's main characteristic is the 3 rocks in a line, equidistantly spaced from each other, which appear round from a distance, but rough close up. Feature 110, Little Cox Tor. Follow the B3357 road, east, from Tavistock to Pork Hill and through the main cattle grid, turning right soon after, into Cox Tor car park, which is a large car parking and the most touristy part of Western Dartmoor, due to its proximity to Tavistock town. Cox Tor, to the north, is a very popular tour, but more little known are two miniature crests on its western slopes, with unfortunately similar names. Little Cock's Tor is the more north and higher of the two. You could head straight for it from the car parking, past its smaller cousin to the south, but may encounter lots of runoff water and ferns. One better way to reach it is to climb to the summit of Cock's Tor at the trig point and then head back downhill, dead west. You will reach Little Cock's Tor before the small road. Another way to reach this is, instead of parking at Pork Hill or Cock's Tor car park, turn off the B3357 at the left turn for Higher Godsworthy Farm. Follow the road, and when the road begins to bend right, stop your car and start walking uphill to the east until you reach it. The Tor presents as a pointy hillock, almost like a spoil pile, with a small amount of granite rocks on top. It is still quite steep climb to get back up to Cock's Tor from here. The small Tor offers views over a wide field of ferns toward Tavistock town. Feature 111, Lower Cock's Tor. Starting at Cock's Tor car park on Pork Hill, walk west to the cattle grid, and before you meet it, cross the road and head north, preferably via the tracks between the ferns. After days of rain, this area is not the best to walk on, as it is waterlogged with runoff streams from Cock's Tor. Before you reach the more pointy hill with rocks on it that marks the similarly named Little Cock's Tor, and when you notice a short marker stone to the left of the track you are on, pause and head to the right through the ferns if you can. You will encounter a low and wide, broad rock wedged into the ground. This quite unspectacular hulk is the location of Lower Cock's Tor. On closer approach, it appears slightly more imposing. Feature 112, Cock's Tor at 442 metres. From Cock's Tor car park on the B3357 road, it is a simple and easy job to cross the road to the north and head up the wide and clear central track, all the way up to the crest of the top of Cock's Tor. Although the direction is clear, the effort needed to climb it may impact on older hikers. Beyond halfway to the top, you climb several steep terraces, and the last short stretch requires some care and scrabbling between boulders to get up. Pick your footholds well though, and this can be more like ascending stairs than scrambling. The front edge of the Tor, facing the car park, features the best rocks and views, a stunning observation point southward of the coast at Plymouth, the distinctive Pew Tor, the town of Tavistock to the southwest, and to the southeast the famous private Tor, Vixen Tor, and the neighbouring three-summit range of the Staple Tors to the east. The actual summit of the Tor, a little set further back, is home to a trig point and a large cairn, which sometimes bees or wasps nest in. A further large cairn can be found on the interesting expansive plateau to the north of the trig point, which is covered in bumpy permafrost mounds. An unusual landscape feature of multiple soft-edged hexagons created by constant freezing, thawing and refreezing of the earth there. Continuing north off the Tor provides access via a gate to Sharp Tor 3 and Great Combe Tor. Feature 113, Barnhill Rocks at 320 metres. Starting from Cock's Tor car park, Barnhill is the large area in all directions south of the car park and road. This broad hill is well frequented by tourists, especially in the hot summers and rare snow days in winter. The hill does contain several areas of Tor rocks, on its east and southeast slopes in particular. Taking the central track south will take you past some, but to see the larger ones you'd have to skirt the eastern edge, without going as far east as to bump into the Grimstone and Saltridge Leat waterway. Feature 114. The Proutytown Rocks. The Proutytown Rocks are a small ledge-like tor on the western slopes of Barn Hill. To reach it, start at Coxtor car parking and head south-southwest, keeping close to the farmer's wall boundary that separates farm field compounds from the open moor. After passing 2 division walls of the fields you are passing, and before reaching a corner in the wall, you should be able to easily spot this tor on your left. As with all these types of tours, the best view is afforded by standing downhill of the rocks and looking up, as they are buried jutting out of the ground. Standing on top may not give you the best impression of the tor, but will give you views over to Pew Tor, a large tor to the south. Feature 115, Feather Tor, at 290 metres. With your starting point at Coxtor Car Park, head south of the main tracks over Barn Hill. After passing some of the Barn Hill rocks, the track takes you down off the hill to a place called Windy Post Cross, where 2 sections of the Grimstone and Saltridge Leat, a man-made waterway, meet each other at the knot of a lasso that encircles Pew Tor, the large tor to the south, easily visible. You can try to cross the water at the stone cross here, or take a simpler route by following beside the water to the left a short way and then crossing a clapper bridge over it. Either way, once across the water, head directly south for a short time until you encounter the tor. A little larger than Proutytown Rocks, this tor, Feather Tor, features several broad platforms of rock and a tall section on the south side, viewable best from the ground below. Continuing south from here is an easy walk to both Heckwood and Pew Tor. Feature 116, Little Staple Tor, at 380 metres. Travelling the B3357 road east from Tavistock to Princetown, pass Pork Hill and the Coxtor car parking and keep going along the road. There are a couple of car parking bays to your left next up, but be aware, one of these, the one nearest to the tors, is blocked by the Dartmoor National Park Authority with stones. It used to be accessible. Park at the next bay along. Walk up the semi-steep slope north, and the next small tor will appear to the left of you as you climb. Little Staple Tor is the first often missed out tor in a range of tors running in a column south to north here, called the Staple Tors, into which I include Roost Tor. At this position, halfway between the road and the larger 3 tors of the range, Little Staple Tor sits, with fair views out toward Vixen Tor. Feature 117, Middle Staple Tor, at 420 metres. Beginning at Little Staple Tor, from the previous guide chapter, turn uphill to the north and continue ascending the semi-steep slopes. The next tor along is a large one and marks the beginning of the 3 tor range of the Staple Tors, a prominent line of tors from Middle Staple Tor to Great Staple Tor to Roost Tor. Middle Staple Tor itself is an impressive area of high rock stacks, with views not obscured by its smaller cousin, out towards Vixen Tor, and the sea at Plymouth, along the horizon, with the snake of the River Tamar passing under the Tamar and Brunel bridges. Peering between the rocks toward the east gives views of Merrivale, King's Tor, North Hessery Tor Mast at Princetown, and more to the northeast, the giant Great Mist Tor. Nearer still though, on a gentle plateau now, is the equally impressive Great Staple Tor, which awaits you. Feature 118, Great Staple Tor, at 455 metres. Get yourself to Middle Staple Tor and simply walk northeast along the gentle dip between the peaks, which may hold water from previous days of rain, but it is not boggy. Great Staple Tor is not afforded the same level of clear views as Middle Staple Tor, but it does afford a better view of Great Mist Tor, which gets closer the more north you go. The rock stacks on Great Staple Tor are impressive and easily identifiable from afar, featuring at least 2 towers of granite, one from certain angles having a dog-faced appearance. Between the main area of the Tor and a smaller area on the eastern side is a natural wall of Tor rocks that seems to separate the Tor into 2 zones. The eastern area being more heavily rocky but sheltered for campers, and the western side seeming more grassy between the tower stacks. From this grassy gap you can easily see Roost Tor, making up the 3rd large tor of this range, a simple walk to the north. Feature 119, Roost Tor, at 430 metres. From Great Staple Tor, on the western grassy section of the summit, head north along the track and it should be obvious to see Roost Tor marking the last summit in this range. Roost Tor is an interesting tor, with a lot of large boulders of granite, some balancing stones known as Logan stones, but nothing particularly tall or towering. Here offers the best view of Great Mist Tor, and a spectacular view of the inner core of Dartmoor to the north, beyond the back of White Tor. You may spot various ancient marker stones here, originally made to warn stone thieves not to cut stone and transport it away from the Tor. Looking north you may also be able to make out a stone circle in the distance, the Langstone Moor Circle, and perched on the Walkham River Valley, glints of white-grey granite belonging to one of the 2 tors named Clay Tor. Little Roost Tor lies downhill steeply to the east. Feature 120, Little Roost Tor. Setting off from the top of Roost Tor, head a very short distance up the track to the northeast along the ridgeline, then after the short distance of a couple of 100 yards, turn right off-road to the east-southeast. The ground is a variety that is firm and fairly easy to traverse, and you are heading downhill towards the line of a elite waterway and the corner of a walled farmer's field, for some geographical reference. You want to get more than halfway down the semi-steep slopes of this tor, and look for a handful of large boulders separated from each other. This is the location of Little Roost Tor. This is an enjoyable little jaunt, especially on a dry, clear day, to an island of rocks in the grass of the slope down from Roost Tor. Once again it offers spectacular views looking up at Great Mist Tor, and Great Staple Tor, as well as down to the River Walkham Valley. Feature 121, Little Miss Tor at 485 metres. The next two tours are part and parcel and will usually be done together, but they are set more east toward Princetown. Drive the B3357 road from Tavistock easterly, passing Cox Tor, the Staple Tors, going downhill passing Merrivale Quarry, a pub, and crossing over the River Walkham. Here the B3357 road climbs to exit the valley steeply and begins winding past over a tor, which appears close to the road on the left. Soon after this though, more on the level, and on your right is a small compound of trees. This is Four Winds car park, which is of medium size, but quite popular and often full. Still, it is permissible to tuck in off the road on the grassy bank in several places here if you cannot get in. From Four Winds car park, cross the main road to the north. There is an obvious well set out stone mining track here. Geographically, this is now a straightforward and easy journey of following this track, which runs all the way up to Little Miss Tor, where another rougher track continues the route to Great Miss Tor. Physically, this is a long uphill journey, and although not excessively steep, it is all uphill and almost 2 kilometers long. It is, however, spectacularly scenic to the west, offering fantastic views on a clear day of the Staple Tor's range, and Cox Tor beyond. Some of the most massive and mountainous views on Dartmoor, other than the Tavy Cleeve. Little Miss Tor is a lot larger than it seems, from afar its silhouette resembling a brick on the slope, but seen closer is a crooked stack of great volume, much taller than several men. After rain, ponds can collect around its edges. Feature 122, Great Miss Tor at 539 metres. From Four Winds car park on the B3357, get up to Little Miss Tor following the previous step of this guide. At this point, the miner's track ends in stony consistency, but can be picked up further north as a more conventional gravel and grass track of a smaller nature, carrying on. Great Miss Tor is one of the largest and tallest tors on Dartmoor, and is hard to miss. Not only is it high up, but boasts a crown of dark and massive granite towers of huge stature. When the track vanishes, the ground is firm, but littered with the clitter of rocks. Keep your wits about you so as not to twist an ankle, but also as to potentially spot the fast bodies of the least weasels that live here under the low rocks. Climb higher and you will be greeted by a spectacular array of enormous boulders and tor rocks, with many stacks, walls and ponds with frog spawn, as well as a grassy top between the crown of rocks. An epic spot for campers and rock climbers alike. Do not be deterred by the flagpole here, even if it is flying a red flag. Stay tuned for a note on this next. Additional notes and firing ranges. On Great Miss Tor there is a flagpole, but no firing range. The flagpole is to deter walkers from walking further north during military live fire exercises, as this would pass you over a border into the Merrivale range. It is a good idea to check the military firing time charts online before travelling further north from Great Misttor here to Greener Ball, although here is not a good way to reach that hill due to the presence of the Misttor Marsh, an area of boglands north of Great Misttor Summit. None of the tools in this guide are in any of the firing ranges.